I feel like time, it's finite. We have to be super mindful with how we allocate because we don't get any more of it.
And we don't know how much of it we have.
And we don't, exactly. Hey, what's this whole wealth journey podcast thing all about?
It's a podcast for entrepreneurs where we're trying to help them connect the meaning with their money.
Who are you?
Jim Gebhardt.
Oh, I'm Matthew Grishman, and we're a couple of financial guys having a not so traditional financial conversation called The Whole Wealth Journey. Here we go.
What is on the gratitude list today?
Number one, top of the heap, top of the pile, resistance.
Gratitude for the resistance.
Grateful for resistance.
Let's unpack that, shall we?
Well, you saw the text message I sent you this morning.
I did.
Did you see
all of them?
Oh, yeah. Right? I was just really struggling to get out the door this morning.
Even though it's something you've done a couple 100,000 million times.
Every day for a while now, almost coming on 2 years. It's always a challenge, it feels like. I want so badly to make exercise like this easy thing that I look forward to, and I get up in the morning and I bounce out of bed and I just running out the door because I can't wait to do it. And it doesn't quite work out that way. Instead, it's, even though I know how great it makes me feel and how much I enjoy doing it once I do it, the act of getting into it is really hard.
The only reason I'm smiling, even though nobody can see this in studio, obviously on the show, is we're in studio, but I'm smiling is I have John Williams' soundtrack to Star Wars playing in the background as you're talking about the resistance.
Oh, totally.
So good.
Here's where the gratitude for resistance kicked in.
Yeah, I'm curious.
As you responded back to me and I was out there actually running and doing my exercise, it kind of hit me because it felt really good this morning. Like really good. Better than it's felt even recently.
The resistance felt good.
The exercise.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
Yeah. Smarty pants here.
And then it kind of hit me. Oh, this is supposed to suck at first. For me. I don't know if this is supposed to suck for everybody who exercises, but at least for me, putting on my shoes and stepping outside is a hard thing to do. And it's supposed to be hard because that's what allows me to really appreciate, enjoy, and celebrate the benefit I'm getting from doing this. It's like it's a win every day. By doing it and getting through it, it's a win. And if I didn't have that resistance to start in the beginning, it really wouldn't mean as much, I don't think. It wouldn't be as big of a victory each day.
Of a mountain to climb.
Yeah. Yeah.
The daily mountain to climb.
Right. And if everything happens for a reason and everything happens for me and not to me, then that resistance is there to serve me. And I think, I don't know, that was just something that hit me this morning that resistance shows up for the benefit of feeling a win. And I'm grateful for that. I'm trying to rewire how I see the hard shit that happens in life, AKA what we call resistance.
Yeah.
So there you go. A little light gratitude to start the day in studio.
Little fluffy, airy, light as a muffin kind of thing.
Absolutely. How about you?
I'm in this program now where I have this health coach. And today was the inaugural session of, I guess it's 6 or 8 sessions. And his name's Matt.
Of course.
Of course it is.
You need another one of those in your life.
And he's a little bit more of a cardiac specialist, not in terms of like a doctor, but more in terms of like therapy and recovery. And so it was an interesting conversation. I don't think there was no warm up to the conversation.
No Swiss custom, as we like to say.
No, in terms of all he really had was some data points on me. There had been obviously no prior conversation, so he didn't know if he was coming into a guy who just, sat on the couch and ate donuts and Doritos all day, or if there was somebody actually on the other end of the phone that was, actively engaged in their health and their wellness and all this good stuff. And in a really selfish kind of way of gratitude, I'm damn proud of the progress I've made in the last 3 or 4 years.
Attaboy. You should be.
And it felt really good to be having this conversation with this total stranger. I mean, he's been brought to me as kind of a health coach, and we're going to explore like what that means and how he can help. But it felt really quite good to unpack my story over the last 3 or 4 years and have him just essentially say, wow, you're way ahead of most of the people that I coach and talk to. I was like, okay. As I'm going through crazy traffic and all kinds of traffic resistance and all this. And I just finished reading this book that I've told you about called The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. Mm. And so much of this book is about just letting things happen and just letting it go and not, it would have been so easy today to just get completely cranked up and jacked out with all of the resistance around the traffic and the construction and, oh my God. I mean, it would have been easy, and I was late to the studio and just could have easily spiraled out of control, and I doubt my pulse got over about 65.
Attaboy.
So, yeah, grateful for a lot of cool things today. Today is also my great nephew, my goddaughter, Kelsey, and her husband, Matt, their little guy, Luca James. It's his first birthday today.
Nice.
And so we're going to do a little FaceTime later. I guess he's coming close to walking. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing him next week when we're in Chicago.
Nice. Thank you for sharing that, brother. And I'm grateful you got here despite all the resistance keeping you from getting here.
Yeah, it's all good.
We would have had a very different episode in studio today if it were just Ace, Lindsay, and myself here. So glad you're here.
Me too.
We always have some good amnesia when we leave the studio. So I think
I do. You don't. I do.
I have a little bit. You have more.
I have chronic.
Yeah. I think you do remember what we just went through, the 4 episodes of personal planning. Yes? You remember that we did that work?
Yes,
I
do.
Maybe not specifically what we talked about.
I do. I was having a little flash because at the gym this morning, I was texting an old Schwab buddy of mine. Sorry, other way around. He was texting me about, he's now a M&A specialist, and he was telling me about a deal. He forwarded me a deal that he just did with a $1 billion shop down in Menlo Park, I think. And he's like, do you remember when we played golf with him at Pebble Beach? And I'm like, no, I have no recall of playing Pebble Beach with you or with him, in all honesty. God,
Wow, and that's Pebble Beach.
And that's Pebble Beach. It's not a place you generally forget.
Right.
And Kevin prompted me with, well, do you at least remember talking to Rupert Murdoch in the bathroom in the urinals with one another at Pebble Beach? And I was like, oh, yes, I do remember that now.
There you go.
Oh, I do remember playing with you at Pebble. I don't remember Peter, but I remember the whole.
So you just needed a minute.
I need a little. So if you can help just kind of
let me
prompt it a little.
Let me help a little bit. So over the last 4 episodes, we've gone on this deep dive into what you and I feel are the most neglected, but probably most important component to a business transition.
Can you please say it properly?
Component.
Thank you.
Component. And it's that whole idea behind personal planning.
Yes.
So today, I thought it would make some sense to have a little bit of a transition episode where we recapped a little bit of what we talked about, just in case anybody else in the tribe is wired like you and I are. As entrepreneurs, we tend to have pretty fast forgetters because we're spending so much time in those quad 1 activities where it's important, it's urgent, we got to do it now. And because that occupies so much of our brain power, sometimes we have a fast forgetter. So let's review a little bit about what we did, because I think that really sets up the progression into the next little mini series that we're going to talk about, which is really the financial planning component, right? If we just review the whole process, right? The whole wealth journey is really about this 3-legged stool that we talk about for helping a business owner prepare for what's next. And we start early, right? We start years before.
We start early.
We do. We start early. We propose and suggest.
The business owners don't always start early.
Unless they meet us, right? And then we start early.
Yes.
Not because we're necessarily planning for the exit tomorrow, but because we've also realized as business owners ourselves that exit planning is just smart business planning.
Yes.
Everything we're trying to do at Gebhardt Group as it relates to growing our franchise, right? You and I believe we have something very special here, that we do something a little unique relative to the rest of our peers in the industry. You and I want to teach more people in the industry how to do it the way we're doing it, more holistically than, say, we were raised early in the 90s on how to do this thing. And so for us to be able to grow and do that and expand our footprint, we've decided within our firm to adopt some exit planning principles that are synonymous to the principles we need to just grow and be a bigger footprint.
And,
yes?
And that is the business consulting work that we've engaged a group to help us with.
Absolutely. And, we'll talk about that a little bit. So today we're going to do a little brief recap of episodes 157 to 60, kind of covering the foundation, the barriers, the benefits, and the implementation and the process we use for the personal planning side of our practice, because we can't forget the whole thing that drives us into this part of the business is the fact that we've got this glaring statistic in our face. And even though you and I like to poke fun at the fact that most statistics are completely full of shit, or at least a little, right?
This is one to remember.
This is one that
if you're a business owner,
if it's even close,
remember this statistic.
If it's even close, right? 75% of business owners, according to the Exit Planning Institute's 2023 Business Owner Readiness Survey, 75% of those business owners surveyed regretted the transaction 1 year after, and it had nothing to do with the money. What's so cool about this conversation we're having about personal planning is we're not the only ones having it. I was listening to Guy Raz's show, How I Built This. He had the founder of Arizona Iced Tea, Don Vultaggio, in studio talking about this same exact thing. Listen to what Don had to say about what he learned from a competitor who's exited before him.
Why weren't you interested in selling? I mean, apparently there was billions of dollars at stake here. There's arguments to be made. Hey, 2005, we're on top of the world. Let's cash out.
I have 2 sons in the business, and I have 4 grandchildren. And I hope that one day my sons take over, and then they have their children take over from them. Maybe it's an old-fashioned approach, but I think the worst thing in life is to be wealthy and not have anything to do. The guys from Snapple told me that the worst day of his life was the day after he sold out.
I believe it.
Because he said, now what?
So
how do we not pay attention to that?
Let's just pause on that for a second.
Sure.
And think about the fact that for many entrepreneurs, business owners, this is their life's work. This is what they have devoted their life to in the world of work. Maybe not family and outside of, but building a business, first of all, then a successful business, and then a thriving business, and then a business that ultimately exits and provides bags of money.
The final act, right?
And
the final act is the exit.
To think of the fact that 3/4 of those transactions and the owners behind those transactions regret the transaction itself, that we could end the show right there. Like, if that doesn't drive you to take action, I don't think we can help you.
Right.
I mean, it scares the shit out of me.
Right. Well,
that many people regret it because of the fact that it is not the money, it's the lack of planning, the personal planning.
Yep, absolutely. So that's why we went down the path of incorporating so much of our whole wealth journey into the personal planning side of life, not just how do we structure the money, which we're going to get into. That's the next series that's coming. The next little mini series is what do we actually do with the money to support?
It's all Bitcoin.
Right. Oh, well, it could be.
It's a simple solution.
It could be. Well, we try to keep it simple.
Haha.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. That was good.
So what have we learned in this whole unpacking of the personal planning?
Probably the most important thing starts from the very top, that there's more to it than just getting the business balance sheet in order. It seems to feel like that's a huge priority, that it's all about getting the business ready. But the reality is you've got these 3 legs to a stool that need to be in balance, where we're not only getting the business ready by maximizing the value and finding the who's that can help us do that, but we have to put an equal amount of time into the personal financial planning as well as this personal life planning, which you and I have seen over and over and over, 30 years in our business, as the most neglected leg of this stool. So it's why we spent the time that we spent, the 4 episodes that we went into going deep about it. And I think some of the insights from our journey, brother, is this isn't a nice to have. Personal planning isn't something that we just get to if we can. It's something that needs to be scheduled. It's something that needs to be prioritized.
Well, again, let's go back to that statistic. I mean, I don't think anybody wakes up hoping to regret the transaction. And so there's got to be some emphasis and focus on the personal planning, because ultimately, this shift that we talk about from retirement to life 3.0. And I was just having a conversation with clients yesterday who have been on a preparatory path to an exit. It's a regional accounting firm. We've been working with the partners of that firm for a very long time.
Yep.
And he is so excited about Life 3.0 because of all of the effort and energy that we have put into the planning for that. So it's not just retirement in the classic sense of I'm done earning, I'm done building, I'm done growing as a human, let alone a business, and now I'm just going to coast it out. And it's just all about comfort until kingdom come.
For some people, that's the case.
That absolutely.
For the entrepreneurs that you and I tend to trip across,
That's not who they are.
the difference between retirement and life 3.0 is about continuing to build and create, not slow down. It's just about discovering what's next. And one of the biggest challenges for our friend that you're talking about, that you talked to yesterday, and many of the friends that we continue to talk to, is this unaware fear that we're helping them become aware of going from a who's who to a who's he, right? I'm a who's who
In my world.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden I go to become a who's he. Again,
Yeah.
if that doesn't motivate you to take some action,
Yeah.
to figure out not just what you're going to do,
Yeah.
but who you're going to become, who you are going to evolve into.
Yeah. Then go listen to Smartless.
Why?
You're wasting your time with us.
Okay. So
I'm in one of those moods today. I mean, I'm dead serious about this stuff, as I know you are.
of course.
But it's like, if you're not going to pay attention to what we're lecturing on, then go listen to Smartless. Go
Wow.
listen to something else. I mean, I'm a little fed up with how this statistic isn't really changing in the industry. And people are still not paying attention to personal planning.
Well, I think you and I can have, and we've done a better job of having a little compassion as to why people aren't paying attention to personal planning, because you're right. The statistic is there. It's been there for a long time. 2023 wasn't the first year
Nope.
that the Exit Planning Institute did this owner readiness survey. They did it for the first time 10 years earlier in 2013, right when the fellas bought the Institute, right? The year before they bought it, they had this owner survey, and that was part of the impetus to why they wanted to buy the Exit Planning Institute, was to have impact and do
Massive
something about
opportunity.
this.
Right.
And even with all their work and effort, the stat didn't move a needle. Why? Well, we uncovered that in episode 157, right?
Exactly.
It's the fear factor. It's the time management issue. It's all these blind spots. And it's this old control freakism thing that we entrepreneurs have, which is, I got to figure out how to do everything or it won't get done the right way.
Myself.
Bingo.
All three of us have to do it. Me, myself, and I.
Exactly.
Right.
And if I don't do it, then it's not going to get done right. So it's
I wonder where I learned that from.
It's this how, not who kind of thinking that has dominated entrepreneurialism forever. And you and I are trying to disrupt that. We're trying to bring some awareness to this. Let's just get honest about our fear. It's okay. It's human, right? It's okay to be afraid of
What's next?
and not knowing who I'm about to become,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's okay to recognize that I can get stuck in these important, urgent tasks that are always on fire and I'm constantly on the go. And if it's not me doing it, we have a friend and client who might be listening to this episode, and he's going to know who he is when he hears this. We have a friend and client who has a second home in a beautiful place on the beach, and he had some challenges with his home this week, some structural challenges with the home. There's contractors coming in to assess and repair. And he, as the CEO of a great organization, a lot of people who depend upon him, felt that he had to get on the airplane and go lead the charge with what's going on with his house. And I so badly wanted to share with him that that's like something you could delegate. Like there's a who out there
Right.
that can do that for you,
Right.
so that you can stay put. That's resistance showing up in his
Sure,
life
sure.
to take him off path from what he's supposed to be doing
Right,
every day,
right.
which is not managing the project
Right.
of repair work in his
Right,
house.
right.
And I'm saying this because I love this person, and it's a reality that he needs to see. It's a blind spot
Sure.
that he has that. And he's really good in some regard of the who's in his life within his business, but there are other aspects of his life where there could be more who's.
We would certainly suggest a few more who's.
Yeah, and this is not unique to him, right?
No.
This is almost everybody we come in contact with. And so just becoming aware of what is it that stops us and keeps us from this personal planning, because if we can't become aware of why we get stuck, then there's absolutely no way that we can get the anchor an inch off the bottom and get in motion. But if we become aware, and all we can see in this part is that it's about who, not how. I don't have to have the answer to how I'm going to deal with fill in the blank crisis. There's a who out there.
That concept, once you not just hear it, but once you start to recognize it and have some experience with it in terms of outwardly going and looking for a who to help solve the problem.
Right.
And then it starts to happen and you start to find these who's. Like our house is by a creek. And
A crick from where you're from.
a creek.
That's what they call
True.
it. Yeah, right.
But in California, it's a creek.
Ah, okay.
What happens when you live near a creek is you get little rodents,
Critters.
creek
Critters.
Right? So we have a chronic issue with mice, with not big roof rats, but little rats, voles, even there's some kind of a little gopher that the pest control people have talked about. And what we're doing, this is a total blind spot for us, is we've been like, how are we going to fix this? How are we going to fix this? And Beth and I got into a conversation a couple weeks ago about let's flip it. Who? Well, sure, there's rodent people and they do their thing, but that's not solving the problem. And then we were introduced to Mary.
Oh, okay. You went
Mary-
a different way than I thought on that.
Mary the cat lady,
Okay.
it's not really I mean, it's a business. It's not really like a for-profit business. She works with and trains and sets you up with what I've now come to learn is called a working cat. So this is an outdoor cat. This isn't, a cute kitty cat that, you cuddle with and snuggle with. This thing is out patrolling
Yeah.
and taking care of your problem.
A guard kitty.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And so Mary's coming over in like a week. She's got one working cat right now. Apparently, ideally, you want two. So the whole little diatribe here is that once you start to breathe in the concept of who and not get so cranked about the how, you can't unsee this. You
Right.
can't.
They show up.
It's just,
The universe does it for you.
the universe does it. And once you start kind of going down the who path, it's just amazing to me what who's have shown up to solve problems that sometimes I didn't even know we had.
So you're talking about chronic creek critters, and I'm guessing that's not the 3 C's that we talked about.
It can be.
I was going to say it felt like a different form of the 3 C's,
Yeah,
but
that nice little catch there.
But thank you. But
Yeah.
but ultimately, that is the benefit of what happens from doing the planning. Okay, we brought everybody through episode 157 and why we get stuck and we don't do this. But the reason for doing it is because we get the 3 C's from it. And it's not these critters, chronic critters from the creek. It's clarity, confidence, and capability. To get a clear vision of what Life 3.0 looks like, to become clear on who you are beyond your business, to develop confidence then that is about you protecting your confidence at all cost and redefining like who you are going forward and feeling good about that. And now all of a sudden we have this capability like, I can do this, right? I can do this. I'm not going to show up to the 11th hour of this transaction and either bail because I'm unsure, which
Happens a lot.
there's a statistic out there we haven't even begun to discuss about how many actually get to right up to the finish line and then bail because they don't have the answer for what's next.
Right. It's not the transaction that they're scared about.
It's the what's next.
It's the what's next.
And they will often attack something within the transaction, a component to the transaction.
Little sabotage.
That goes, ooh, yeah, I'm out. I can't, nope, I don't
Right, I don't like
that.
that lawyer's tie.
I'm out.
Right.
And it becomes the reason. But to feel this sense of capability because of this who, not how mindset, it's a game changer. It's this 53-year-old guy, me, feeling comfortable in my own skin for the first time. I envision when an entrepreneur gets to that place where they have the clarity about what's next, they have confidence in themselves to get there, and they feel the sense of capability because of the incredible team they've surrounded themselves with. There's just this,
it is like, fun to watch.
It's just almost this like feeling of
invincibility.
Yeah,
that's
but
what
neutral
see.
Invincibility. It's not like I'm fired up and excited. It's like this calm, peaceful, nothing can fuck with me. Right? I'm good. And it's nice at 53 years old to feel that, even though I know my own exit is years and years and years down the road. I just feel this incredible sense of preparedness.
Well, because you have a great sense of clarity on where you're going, personally and professionally. You have a renewed sense of confidence in both of those categories. And as a result, you've developed all kinds of new capabilities.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it's abundantly simple when you say it like that. And there's obviously a truckload of work that goes into it.
Yeah. It's simple, not easy.
Right. Right. That the clarity part for me is always the most fun to see, fun to witness with a client in conversation. Because if we were to really slow this thing down and really unpack it with them, that's actually what they're seeking the whole time. They don't know that these other 2 C's are coming. Those are kind of the cherry on top.
Right. The bonus C's.
They have this very deep-seated fear of not knowing what's next. And that as they start to have even an ounce of clarity, they feel lighter. They feel better. They feel more hopeful, right? Because it's like staring out into the darkness. You can't see, until you can see something, you're going along blindly. And I love the whole clarity conversations that we have with clients in the beginning when they're not even clients, and then as they become clients, and then even as it marches forward, because you and I know what's coming. We know Act 2 and Act 3 of the play, but it's Act 1 that I get the most excited about because it's so fun to see their relief when they get some clarity.
Sure. Well, I know from just my own experience and our own experience, I feel a whole hell of a lot better and a lot more prepared now if something were to happen, like one of those 5 Ds that we talked about, right? If 50% of all business owners are going to experience one of the 5 Ds before the exit, death, divorce, disability, disagreement, distress. If one of those 5 Ds were to happen again, I don't think lightning will strike twice, but it could. I feel so much more of a sense of preparedness than I did in September of 2023 when it happened the last time.
Sure.
Because of what we talked about in episode 160. Because of this very practical roadmap that you and I have co-created through our own experience. What we are showing our business owners how to prepare is much in part due to our own experience through trials and tribulations. We've banged our head against the wall enough that
to say, can we stop now?
Yeah. Can we stop now and can we do it a different way?
Did we learn anything from it?
And we learned from a bunch of who's, and now we get to take our own experience and the people we've surrounded ourselves with, create this incredible process. And we've done this before, right? I mean, let's think back to the very first time you and I ever sat down together. And I was blown away at the empathy and compassion you were showing me. I've never experienced that from another man before. And then I continued to watch how in our first few interactions with clients together, how trust was being created instantly. And you and I got a little obsessed, maybe would be the right word, on trying to understand the process behind what was going on so that maybe you could teach me how to do that. I could learn how to do that. We could teach others how to do that.
Yep.
And, here we are doing that same thing again. So when we look at the process, right, it starts first and foremost if we really understand who, not how, building that personal planning team. I do remember this part of episode 160 when we were counting up the number of people on my personal planning team.
Yeah, it's like 64 now.
It's up to that, except it was 9. You're close.
Okay.
You're close.
What's a multiple? 9 times...
Derivative of 63.
9 times 5 is 54. So I was close.
Close.
64.
Right. 9 times 6 is 54, but that's okay.
I'm having fun for all my fact checkers on the show today.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
I thought you were just exercising that beautiful left side of your brain today. a little
Nah.
bit. No? Okay. All right. So we get the personal planning team. And, it's going to look a little different for everybody. Not everybody needs all the same who's, but generally speaking, this is a combination of some kind of life coach, personal planning specialist, right? And it could come in the form of your wealth advisor if they've developed expertise in this space like you and I have. There's generally some people on like a health optimization team. You've got different relationship counselors, therapists, people that can help you with your values, different experience designers, which you've come across, some of the incredible experiences you and the family have had. You and Beth have made although you're very capable of booking your own travel.
No, thank you.
You've decided that you want to craft an experience, and this is what I want to experience, but I need somebody else to help me put it all together.
And while this may sound to the tribe a little overwhelming that you have to have a team of all of these people, I think one of the keys, going back to our very first conversation, is just meeting the client where they're at.
Yes.
And having conversation and dialogue to understand, because if we think of ourselves as blind spotters, we're going to be given all of our experience, we're going to be able to hear what in our olden days we would call the triage situation, right? Where's the patient bleeding out in terms of a gaping hole on their team where they need a who? In the classic conventional sense of business, maybe it's a CPA, or maybe it's an estate attorney. Like they're walking around and they're worth $8, $10, $12, $25 million and they don't have an estate plan of any kind.
Right.
It
happens.
I hate to chuckle on that, but the only reason I chuckle is it's happened many times.
It happened to Joe Robbie, the owner of the Miami Dolphins, with
Yes.
a $1.2 billion estate tied up completely in a stadium and a team and no estate plan.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So yes, it happens.
Or we could go with a little James Gandolfini. We could have the
Tony Soprano.
or a little soprano action.
Right. No estate plan.
No estate plan.
Unbelievable.
So the members of this personal team are really they're going to nominate themselves in terms of who do you need, right? For us, you and I have been so obsessed with our health the last few years that that's really been the primary focus is physical and mental wellness.
Yes.
But don't be overwhelmed, listener of the tribe, with you need all these people tomorrow.
Well, that was part of what keeps us stuck is the daunting overwhelm of trying to tackle this massive elephant in front of us called personal planning. And we're, can't say this enough. How do you eat an elephant?
One bite at a time.
Exactly.
Yep.
Right. So perhaps it's going back to episodes 157 through 160 and figuring out where can I get this anchor off the bottom 1 inch. And we're going to talk about this more in a few minutes. It is about starting somewhere, right? Today's just about kind of reviewing the whole thing, which can sound a little overwhelming, but we're going to break this down into where do we actually get started. So we've got the who's, we've got the personal planning team in place. Now, the next part of the process is really getting crystal clear on what your whole wealth is really all about, how you define your whole wealth, which
this is an eye-opener for 99% of the people we talk to.
Absolutely, because
it makes a ton of sense once they hear it.
Sure.
But it's a new concept.
When you think about what makes up your whole wealth, money's a part of it. And there are different parts of money, whether it's real estate, business, cash in the bank, securities in a brokerage account, a retirement account.
Don't forget Bitcoin.
We have that all. And you and I look at that as kind of one asset class within somebody's whole wealth. To us, there's really 7. Time, health, relationships, superpowers, values, experiences, and money. 7 different asset classes.
In no particular order.
Well, sorta.
I know.
That first one.
Yeah.
That first one, I feel like time it's the only one of those 7 that's finite. It's the only one of those 7 that we have to be super mindful with how we allocate because we don't get any more of it. Now,
And we don't know how much of it we have.
and we don't exactly, right? And that was something we shared in the last episode, which is, could you imagine having a 401k that you're living on in retirement, or some kind of securities account, some kind of investment account that you're using to fund your retirement, and you have no idea how much money there is or when it might run out, and just 1 month it's just going to stop coming in, right? So this is a very unique asset, and we have to treat it very uniquely in how we allocate it. And this is something you and I like to spend a lot of time on with clients, helping them figure out how to allocate, because it dictates the rest.
Oh, absolutely. And when we start to identify where the client is in their own journey relative to these 7 different asset classes, it then really starts to allow a clarity conversation, because
Yes.
they can clearly almost self-nominate. Is it health they need to focus on? Is it repairing relationships that is the priority now that, the business is going well and there's an exit plan, there's a plan for that and everything. But now we got to go back and repair some relationships that maybe
Sure.
were expendable as a result of focusing on the business so much. I know very, very, very well in my own family, with my mother and father owning a business, how that was my father looking to repair the relationship with my mother that was damaged as a result of all of his focus being a workaholic.
Sure.
And so we meet clients wherever they are with that.
Yes.
And these 7 asset classes really start to help them have a little bit of clarity, not so much on the future, but what their focus needs to be on right now.
Well, it's the whole process, right? Like when your mom and dad were working through some of that, were there some financial implications to those decisions and how they repair those relationships with each other?
Oh,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, there's no way we can fully allocate someone's financial resources properly if we don't understand how the other assets in their lives need to be allocated to support what matters most to them. So when it comes to time, right, our most finite resource, when it comes to health, how we want to be stewards of our physical, mental, emotional well-being, our relationships, right? Who are the people in our lives that suck the life out of us versus the ones that fill us up? When we think about our superpowers, right, our natural strengths and tendencies and gifts and talents and skills, and how much of those are we actually using versus not using? When we think about our own values, right, the things that drive us at a very core level, the experiences that we have had and want to have, are we creating the kind of meaning in our life that we want through our ability to also be human doings? And going through a process of uncovering all that, getting clear on that, so then we could sit down with money and turn that into the tool that it's meant to be to support those other 6.
Allocate that to support the other 6. And as you're going through each of those 6,
Yeah.
it's so fun because I have different clients that are popping into my head, and I'm not going to get into all those stories right now, but it's really fun to hear that list, and then I think of this client for that, and this client relative to health, and this client relative to working on their relationships, and this client about their superpowers and how they're going to build a bigger future for themselves in that life 3.0 stage of life by harnessing those superpowers and still continuing to use them. Maybe there doesn't need to be an economic benefit anymore, but it's not like
Sure.
you're going to let the superpower just, sit in the closet and do nothing.
No, it's what drives you to do every day. And I appreciate you bringing up being in your own head about some other people that you're thinking about, because I would imagine some of our listeners today are in their own heads thinking about each one of these assets themselves, but also potentially thinking, as you and I often do, about other people. That's the serial entrepreneur, is always more or less thinking about other people, and often self-sacrifice and not thinking about ourselves because we're so consumed with other people. That's part of the impact-driven entrepreneurial brain that you and I have, that I'm sure we've got some listeners today thinking about other people as we go through that list and who might benefit from listening to this show.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
Feel free to forward this episode
Right.
on your favorite platform as we're going through some of these. Boy, I was thinking about so-and-so, right? Just like you were
Yeah.
right there.
Well, and two clients that in the experiences category have both been stuck on trying to plan some travel.
Right.
And one's a kind of a 60th birthday celebration with his wife. The other is a couple that's retired where the wife has self-appointed herself as the travel person, but after 2.5 or 3 years, she's been super stuck with ever getting in motion. And we introduced her to Emily Kenny, who's an unbelievable travel specialist. And boom, they're both off to the races with it. So
That's
it's just
awesome.
It's really fun to just unpack that as you're going through it.
That's awesome. Well, the plan of how to go about personal planning really boils down to the who's in your life and really uncovering and getting really clear on how those 7 different assets show up in your life. And we've got all sorts of tools that help us go through that process, a bunch of assessments. Now, one of the things we wrapped up with in the last episode, and this is going to be a little check-in with the tribe, right? A little self-check-in is we shared these insights over the course of 4 episodes and then challenged the crew here with a little bit of action items, some things to do. You and I are big believers in the law of diminishing intent. And so we gave everybody a little bit of a 24-hour challenge where, first and foremost, when we look back to episode 157 and the different barriers that we have in front of us, which of the 4 barriers are your biggest obstacle? What's keeping you stuck? What's keeping you from sitting down and scheduling time to deal with some of these personal planning items? Did you do that? Did you think about that? If you didn't, let's think about that right now. We asked you to consider a time audit. We asked you to track.
I was too busy to track my time.
Well, you'll get there. Maybe you can do that now. If the best time to track your time was last episode, then the next best time's today.
Okay.
So track
I'll
3
try.
days, 3 days, and see how you allocate your time across the 4 different quadrants. And what I bet you're going to find
is I waste a lot of time
is that you spend most of your time in quadrant 1 and quadrant 4. Quadrant 1 being that important, urgent, I'm a business owner and I got stuff I got to deal with right now.
3 alarm fire now.
All
Go.
day long.
All day now. Crisis, crisis, crisis.
And when you're not doing that, you're looking at Instagram Reels.
Mm-hmm.
You're scrolling through LinkedIn.
Doom scrolling, I think, as my kids have taught me.
The not important, not urgent quadrant.
Where'd that 22 minutes go?
Exactly. Because ultimately, we want to get to a place where we can start scheduling the important, not urgent stuff like personal planning, like getting your legal house in order, getting to that estate attorney and finally redoing your trust, right? We asked you to consider a who identification assessment. Who are your current team members?
Yeah.
How many
who do you go
who's
to now?
do you have in your life and who is missing? Ultimately, start journaling about your Life 3.0 possibilities. Just start thinking about
Just let the hand
What
go
could
to
it
the
look like?
piece of paper and let it flow.
Yeah.
Don't critique yourself. Don't check your spelling. Just go.
Yes.
Just let it rip.
So we took you through a pretty deep personal planning process and then understanding that there's a lot to it. We've given you a few different action items on how to get started. I'm going to give you one last action item before we start teeing up what's next, what the next few episodes are.
Call Gebhardt Group.
Holy cow, you're reading my mind.
Okay, good.
We have these things called telephones that we still pick up and answer.
What?
We believe in human connection, and we love the opportunity to speak to people. Now, we're also, 21st century kind of podcasters where you could also reach us electronically. There's a link inside of the show notes where you can reach out to us. You can go also to our website, GebhardtWholeWealth.com, and right on the homepage is a big orangish kind of button that says connect with us and find your why. Or if you're kind of old-fashioned like us,
And you want to pick up the telephone.
877-283-9150. Let's get the anchor up 1 inch to get in motion. Make sense?
Makes sense to me.
All right, so we've done the personal planning work. Congratulations. Let's
Ooh.
celebrate for a minute.
Yeah, what's next?
So what's next
I can't celebrate this. What's next? I'm an entrepreneur, damn it.
I know, but we got to at least celebrate it for a second. Like a baseball player who runs the bases with their home run. They celebrate it, and then it's off to the next batter, right? Next batter. So we've touched home plate. We celebrate.
Well,
And
I'm very proud of what we've done with this series because it's going to foster conversation, whether we're directly involved or not.
You and I really, really enjoy the relationship side of our business and creating long-term relationships with our clients. The fact that nearly 80% of business owners change financial advisors upon the transaction is also a mind-blowing statistic that we've never talked about because we haven't
True.
really needed to yet.
Yeah.
But the fact that most clients will leave their financial advisor when they go through the transaction simply because they're looking now for an advisor who can
different team.
help them with this type of what's next in my life. The problem is they're doing it after the transaction. Let's be
Avoid that.
proactive as an industry, and let's maintain these great relationships that we have so we don't lose them and we become that much more important part of our clients' lives. So once we're able to do that, then we're actually prepared to do what our industry tells us our real job is.
Ooh, that sounds like what might be next.
That is the financial planning part of the conversation. And for us, it boils down to most likely 4 more episodes on the show, because it just so happens that our financial planning process is built around 4 key parts. And you can go right to our website, gebhardtwholewealth.com, where we kind of lay out right on the front page what we do. Right? Wealth with a Y. You click on the link to what we do, and it takes you through these 4 steps that we're also going to take you through on the show.
Yeah.
And stage 1 is what they commonly refer to in our industry as the discovery stage. You and I like to call it unpack your story, right? Because there's so much to your relationship with money, your story around money. And although
your business, your family, your passions, your all of that. Just unpack all of that.
And although we really want to understand what it is you own, what I think really drives us most in this part of it is really understanding more the story and the relationship around finance, money, and business. How did you get to where you were based on what you learned throughout the course of your life? Because that's so foundational in the money decisions you've made, you're going to make, and we're going to help you make going forward. So really going deep. So much of the personal planning overlaps with this unpacking your story part of the process. Then we're going to break into the second part in the next episode, where part 2 is all about defining your story. This is where left brain meets right brain, because defining your story is about helping you see some of the blind spots that you weren't aware of, some of the money decisions that you've made in your life and will potentially make. Why?
Well, we set all that money stuff aside for a while.
Right.
That's sometimes a little distressing to clients because they're so eager to just get cracking at the money part.
Sure.
But we have to set it aside so that we can do exactly what you're describing.
Yes. So a lot of the assessment tools that we use in the personal planning part that we talked about in episode 159, I believe, and
Look
160.
at you. Look
right?
at you.
Right. Well, it's on the outline, so
Oh.
we don't have to memorize
We
too
have an
much
outline?
today. Today we do. It's very helpful. Thank you, Lindsay. We have these assessments that we bring back into the conversation to really help give us a little more clarity and defining some of the parts to the story that maybe we hadn't thought to define, because this is where it moves us into where you take over again. And that's the third part, where we'll talk about in episode 3 of this next series. Now we're going to get into shaping your story. So we've unpacked your story, we've defined your story, and now we begin to shape your story going forward.
That's where we get the sketch pad out with the pencils and the colored pencils and the architect's ruler and all this good stuff.
You and your art class.
Yeah, to start shaping what it's going to look like, right? In more of a dreamlike state, in an ideal state, what does it look like? And then the part 2 of that is where we go kind of stress test it all and see if the structure that we built can withstand life, withstand inflation.
Well, with
withstand-
options.
With options.
Right.
And show you how does this look relative to the trajectory that you're on. And as we always commit to clients, we don't leave that room until we find a path forward. That's very comforting for clients, because if they're not on the trajectory that they want their ideal life to be in 3.0, life 3.0, then they're going to start to see what do they need to do that, right? Whether it's the wealth gap, whatever the outcome is, it's always positive, because they're getting a greater sense of clarity of where they are and what do they need to do to kind of get on the track that they ideally want to be.
Well, I appreciate something we've learned to share with clients, and you shared this with me a long time ago, is that financial planning is simply a series of pulleys and levers, and that when we're shaping somebody's story and showing them different options and directions of where life could go financially, no matter what they want to accomplish in life, we can help them get there with financial decisions as long as they're willing to understand that life and financial planning is all about trade-offs. It's all about pulleys and levers. And so it's a matter of prioritizing how we allocate and how we shape the outcome of the financial planning process based on what we learned going through the personal planning process.
Absolutely.
What are the priorities? And let's stack rank them, because not everything is ranked a number one.
Nope.
Right? There's a number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 for a reason. And so as long as we come into this understanding that there are trade-offs, we should be able to craft and shape a story that ultimately gets us to that fourth stage of financial planning, where you get to live your why, where now you get to honor the second most important day of your life, right? The most important day of our life is the day we're born. The next most important day of our life is the day we discover why. And to be a part of that journey from a personal, financial, and business planning aspect for fellow entrepreneurs is one hell of an honor.
That is a privilege. Absolutely.
So we got 4 episodes coming up on the personal financial planning front, where we're going to unpack, define, shape your story to ultimately live your why.
I can't wait. Can we do that today?
I think we're going to start it on the next episode of The Whole Wealth Journey. With that, brother,
That's a wrap.
thanks for joining us today on The Whole Wealth Journey. Are you ready to start planning for a future that's rich in wealth and well-being? Then click like and subscribe and make sure you don't miss a single episode of The Whole Wealth Journey.
So if we've struck a nerve with you today, where do people go?
You can find us at GebhardtWholeWealth.com. That's GEBHARDT wholewealth.com. We'll see you next time.
Jim Gebhardt is a registered representative of Integrity Alliance, LLC. Securities and investment advisory services offered through Integrity Alliance, LLC, member SIPC. Gebhardt Group Incorporated is not affiliated with Integrity Wealth. Jim Gebhardt and Matthew Grishman are investment advisor representatives of Gebhardt Group Incorporated, a registered investment advisor. The opinions in this podcast are for informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or investment recommendations. To determine which investment or financial advice may be appropriate for you, consult a financial advisor prior to investing. Any reference to market performance is based on historical information, and there is no expressed or implied guarantee of future performance. Opinions expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect those of Integrity Alliance, LLC. The topics discussed and opinions given are not intended to address the specific needs of any listener. Gebhardt Group Incorporated does not offer legal or tax advice. Listeners are encouraged to discuss their financial needs with the appropriate professional regarding your individual circumstance.